Hi, welcome to Podsdale. I'm your host, Holly Walter from the Office of Communication. Sitting here thinking about something I think we all dream about, retirement. But before we talk more about that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie Hirata for this episode's Fast Five.
Hi, I'm Public Affairs Specialist Stephanie Hirata with 5 fast things happening around the city you need to know. We start the list at number 5 and the Scottsdale Unified School District. We've teamed up with the school district to provide free lunches for kids and teens throughout the summer. Parents and guardians can pick up lunches in the lower level lobby area of Civic Center Library from noon to 1 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday through the end of July. Number 4 is all about helping others. How? By donating blood. You have the power to save up to 3 lives with 1 donation. Mark your calendars for our next blood drive from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on June 10th at Scottsdale City Hall. You can reserve your spot today online by visiting bloodhero.com. Scottsdale's Back to School program is in our number 3 spot. School is barely out, but we need donations now. We are gearing up for this important program for when kids return to school in August. Vista Del Camino's Back to School program provides essential school supplies to more than 1,000 students each year. Students need new clothing, socks, underwear, shoes, backpacks, and school supplies. Learn how you can donate items or money at scottsdaleaz.gov and search Back to School. The Paiute Neighborhood Center is at number 2. The Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccines will be available to the public from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on June 15th at the center, which is located at 6535 East Osborne Road. Registration is encouraged, but walk-ins are welcome. Need help with registration? Call Paiute at 480-312-2529. And our number 1 Fast 5 spot goes to Scottsdale. Go Scottsdale, it's your birthday. Gonna party like it's your birthday. Did you know that on June 25th, we will celebrate our 70th year as a municipality? To commemorate this special anniversary, the city is hosting several family-friendly events, and you're invited to join in on the fun and learn some Scottsdale history. Learn more and check out the lineup of events at scottsdaleaz.gov and search 70th anniversary. And that's our Fast 5 for this episode of Podsdale. Got something for a future Fast 5? Tell us by emailing communications@scottsdaleaz.gov. I'll turn it back over to you, Holly.
Thanks, Stephanie. Before I get into the topic of this episode, I'd like to announce that Appaloosa Library Branch Manager Sky Larson was our recent trivia question winner when she correctly stated that the International Conference and Training Seminar for Police Chaplains is what we will be hosting in July here in Scottsdale. Sky, watch your email. We'll be sending a gift card your way. And you can also have an opportunity to win a gift card. Listen to our trivia question at the end of the episode and email communications@scottsdaleaz.gov with your answer to be entered into our drawing.
Okay, well, don't we all look forward to retirement? I know I do, but I do have 2 city employees here who are retiring, and today, in fact, is their last day. We have Brad Hartig. He's had 30 years with the city of Scottsdale, and he's leaving as our Chief Information Officer, and Reed Pryor, who is a Parks and Recreation Department Director who's been with Scottsdale for 16 years. Can you give us a rundown of your city careers? Where did you start? Where have you been? And what led you both to your current positions? I'll start with Brad.
I started the city in 1991. I was the strategic planning and support manager. They hired me to build a plan or transition them off of their mainframe to more of a modern computing infrastructure that was network-based and with micro or mini computers. And at the time, they were just announcing PCs. From there, in 1997, I was promoted to enterprise manager. And then again in 2000, I was promoted to enterprise director. And then in 2003, the existing CIO stepped down suddenly and unexpectedly. And I was tapped on the shoulder to take on the interim role. And I did that for about, probably 3 to 4 months. And ultimately, my manager at the time felt that I was doing a good job in that role, and I was appointed. So I felt very, very fortunate, that they had the trust in me, and they had the confidence in me. And the rest is history. It's been 18 years as CIO, and it's been a really good experience.
I think that will be a record. 18 years in that position, that might be hard to break. It might take a while for that to happen.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm very, very proud of my career and very proud of the staff and hopefully the legacy I've been able to leave.
It's interesting as well to hear that something that started out as an interim position turned into what it is today, and you just never know how those things happen.
Exactly. I mean, it's very. It was very fortunate for me, and to have had the confidence, the leadership to have the confidence in me and put me into that role, and then to think of where we are today. I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish as a team.
I'm going to turn it over now to Reed. Why don't you provide us with a rundown of your career, Reed?
All right, Holly. I came to the city in 2005. I started out as the Parks and Recreation manager. There was one of three that oversaw the maintenance program within the department. I had the north area parks and all the sports fields and just all of our community centers and programs up in the north end of town. And over a period of time, a couple of my counterparts retired, and my responsibilities broadened a little bit. So I took on a little bit of the roles that they had. And then I volunteered to get involved with the management of the golf course contracts. When Tom Beat left the city years ago, I'd had a lot of experience in the golf business. I was the director of golf for the city of Indianapolis for 7 years. We had 12 courses there, so it was kind of a natural fit to get involved in what Tom had been doing. So I did that for a number of years. Then another fellow retired, and he was overseeing the contract with the San Francisco Giants. So I got involved overseeing the stadium and professional baseball end of our business and working with the Giants on spring training and the minor league program. And then as we went along, the director who preceded me was Jan Cameron. Jan had been here a number of years with the city and had retired. And when she retired, I applied for and was selected to take this role. And I've been in this job for about a little over 6 years now. It's been very enjoyable. We get involved in a lot of things, everything from, maintenance of the medians and right-of-way landscaped areas to the Scottsdale soccer complex to working with the team at TPC Scottsdale to run Waste Management Open. We also work with the folks at Westworld, particularly now since they're part of community service. So we actually touch a lot of different things, but it's been really a rewarding experience.
And I have to ask you, Reed, you must be a baseball fan or golfer, right, with what you do?
Yeah, I'm probably lean more toward the golf side, but baseball has been a pretty well tied to the city here with spring training for a number of years. So, we had a lot of involvement with that program there at the stadium as well.
And together, you both have collectively 46 years of experience with the city. So I can only imagine that you've seen a lot of changes happen over the time you've both been with the city. I'll start with you, Reed. What are some of the things that you've seen change from the day you started with Scottsdale to today?
Well, one of the things that I think we've seen is we've been fortunate over the years. When I first started here, we were under construction at the Scottsdale Sports Complex at Hayden and Bell. We saw the completion of that. And then recently here with some of the bond projects that are starting to come on board from the 2019 bond election, we're seeing some of these things that we planned and hoped to build at some point now actually, coming true. So that's been a great thing to see. And then we've built some other smaller parks around the community. We're looking at the Indian Bend Wash project down there that's going to be coming probably in the next couple of years. We've seen our programs on the recreation side greatly expand. Our aquatics program is really, I think, one of the top programs in the country. I think we've also got a sports program, which is kind of second to none in the Valley. We bring in an awful lot of tournaments and events and that bring in a lot of people to visit the city. We also have a very good youth program that we work with club teams and little league groups to provide sports activities for the local residents as well. So I think we have a really good balance of programs. And then we work very closely with our human services counterparts and our library counterparts to program and do things around the city. They're gracious to let us use their facilities to offer leisure ed programs. And it's been a really a nice thing to see the shared use of facilities and programming space that we have there. So I think we're pretty fortunate with what we have. I mean, we're not the biggest city in the world, but we have an awful lot of good programs and services for the size of the community that we are.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it says a lot about Scottsdale that we truly are a destination for many of these sports teams to host competitions, and people want to come here.
Yes, they do. I think this past year, it's been trying for everybody, but we worked very hard to put in place good safety protocols that allowed us to operate a lot of our sports programs where other communities didn't. And I think it's a credit to our staff for the hard work that they put into developing the protocols and working with our public safety folks to get those in place and monitor those so that we could operate the way we have this past year. It's been a nice thing to see. And we've got an awful lot of nice comments and accolades from the users to be able to be out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That says a lot. And I know there's been a lot of work behind the scenes to make those things happen. Now, switching over to IT, Brad, I don't even know where you would start with 30 years of time and changes, but what are some of the things you've seen since the start of your career?
Well, when I started my career to put things in perspective, we had overhead projectors here. I don't know if people remember those, but you'd have your presentation and you would put it through a copy machine with clear foils and you'd put it up there, and that's how you did your presentations. The invention of the PC was just starting, and the use of networks was just starting. So in the early 90s, we implemented a fiber optic network that we're still using today for both of our campuses. And it's just been kind of a technological journey from one system or one technology to the next. I think if you look at it where we were positioned versus a lot of other cities, when the COVID came in, we had the Microsoft platform in Teams. We were able to get close to 1,000 workers actively working from home and efficiently in a very short period of time. There's been so much change, and it's just incremental over time that you have to keep out in front of. And that's something that I really am very proud of my department and my team. We always seem to be out in front of that. Most recently, we're finishing the implementation of a business continuity, a disaster recovery site at another location up in North Scottsdale, to where we'll have redundancy to our systems to protect ourselves both from a natural disaster and also from cyber disasters. We've done a lot of hardening from there. We've, this last year, it's not very well known, but we did have a cybersecurity event, and that was actually probably the worst day possible. It was the day of the Waste Management Open. It was Saturday morning. Staff was able to get their arms around it, get servers rebuilt, and we were back online by Sunday evening. And honestly, staff didn't know about it, and neither did the press. So those types of things are really rewarding to me. I feel very good with where my staff is right now, and where I'm leaving things. We have a very good succession and depth to the team. I know that Scottsdale is known locally and nationally for its technology innovation and leadership, well connected from a national level and local level. And we've always been strong contributors and participants in those types of things. And it could be anything from the Smart Cities initiative we're working on right now with the Connective, and Brent Stockwell is actually one of the regional representatives for that, to the Regional Wireless Cooperative, which is a public safety radio system that was developed for the Valley, and I was very much on the ground floor of helping get that established, where 19 agencies throughout the Valley have seamless radio communication. So there's just so many things I can't really hit on them all, but those are some of the ones that I'm most proud of.
I can imagine that's a proud moment to have a breach like you mentioned, and for us as employees to just really go forward without skipping a beat and not even realizing there was a problem. It just speaks to what your team is doing behind the scenes.
I'll also add that was a Super Bowl weekend, so staff had to work through the event, but it was very rewarding, and we even had comments from our third-party provider who does some security work for us that they were very, very impressed that both from a public sector or a private sector company that we had it contained and remediated faster than they probably have ever seen.
Wow, that's the true definition of when it rains, it pours, right?
Yes, it is.
Now, Brad, what are some of your other memorable career moments or highlights during your time with the city? I know you are one of our Donaldson recipients. What else can you speak to?
There's been just so many large projects and initiatives, but one that really stands out to me is the transition of the fire department. And that was right after I had stepped into my new role. We basically owned all the stations, but nothing in them. So we didn't own any of the technology in them. Trucks, but nothing on them. We didn't have any staff. We bought the Wiseman Public Safety building, but it needed a lot of work. We ended up putting over 32 miles of network cable in there. And if you think about that, you stretch it end to end, that's about how long Scottsdale is. So we had 18 months to do it. We put in a new radio system with all new towers and infrastructure, which was a challenge with our citizens to get them to understand that why we needed it and how quickly we needed it. We put in a new records management system. We put in a new scheduling system, and we onboarded 200 plus people with new PCs and new systems. So, and I think one of the things that was so unique about that, we all have deadlines. And I know, Reed, you could even probably speak to this as far as the stadium remodel and being ready for spring training. But there's a lot of things within the city that don't have a hard and fast deadline. And it was July 1st, 2005 that everybody in the city, and it wasn't just IT. That was the other thing that was so neat about it. We had facilities involved. You had HR involved. There was so many players that had to work together to take it across the finish line. And we did, and it was just such a rewarding moment when, we flipped the switch on July 1st and everything worked and everything was very, very seamless. So that's probably the cornerstone for mine.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, 32 miles, that's a visual. That's in my head now. Yeah. Reed, what about you in terms of memorable career moments or highlights that you've had during your time with Scottsdale?
Well, I think, some of the facilities we've been able to either build or renovate. Brad mentioned the Scottsdale Stadium. That was a project that was on a pretty tight timeline. There was not much wiggle room in the schedule. It had to be done in order to be ready for the Giants when they first move into town. We were able to do that. We had a few glitches along the way, but everything was able to run fine. And so that's been a very nice one. We've been through some renovations on some other properties. Particularly the one I like is the TPC. We did a renovation on the golf course and the stadium course. We worked with the tour and the city to do a renovation out there. We've seen the youth sports field allocation group has really grown in their efforts to bring the sports into the community, whether it's through local competition or, like I mentioned before, some of the teams that come in from out of town. Everybody knows Scottsdale is a tourist destination, and I think our team and the sports group have really done an excellent job of trying to support that effort. our after-school programs and our overall youth development programs. We've seen those things grow over the years, and we partner with the Scottsdale Unified Schools to provide these programs. The after-school program, we provide some intercession programs when they have breaks. We also do the summer programs at the school sites. Those provide great services to the families in town that have youth that need a place to go that's safe and fun for the kids. And our staff does an excellent job of providing locations for those programs. Those are some of the things I'm most proud of. And then the fact that we were able to successfully champion the bond projects in 2019, and we've already completed a few of those projects, and two of them are under construction right now. So seeing those things come along and start, I think, are some things I'm most proud of.
So many things you do touch so many people and places and programs throughout the city. And on that note, and you've both mentioned this a little bit in some of our earlier conversation, but you're both wrapping up your careers, taking on one of the biggest challenges any of us have probably faced, both personally and professionally, the COVID-19 pandemic. Reed, how did that change your work, and what has the past year been like for you?
Well, it really kind of put the brakes on everything with us for a period of time. So many of our programs, touch the public in different ways, whether it's in one of the recreation programs for youth or leisure ed classes, or someone just using the park or the tennis courts. We had to take a pause, and we actually went out and closed facilities. We physically put up caution tape around basketball courts and different facilities, and signage went up everywhere. And everything just kind of ground to a halt. And then over a period of time, you would hear different executive orders come out of the governor's office, and some of those were based on CDC recommendations. So we would take those things, and then we would decide, okay, we feel we can move back into this area and open that area back up a little bit. So as we went through that, different iterations of executive orders and things, we would open things back up. And then we would work with our facilities crew on additional cleaning. And so over a period of time, we started opening things up. And then we started looking at our sports programs. And that was something we felt we could do. It's outdoors. We did ask people to wear masks and distance around the fields that we had out there. And so many people were clamoring for something to do because virtually everything else was closed. So we were able to put together programs with our staff and working with the special events guys in PD and fire, and with Cheryl Sumners and her team to develop protocols. And then we would run those through legal, make sure that they all agreed we were adhering to all the executive orders and policies that were in place. And we were able to just slowly but surely get back into business. But it was extremely trying. We had an awful lot of phone calls. Some people thought we were crazy for trying to have anybody in the parks. But on the other hand, you'd have equal number of calls that were so happy that we were trying to bring some activity back to the community that we had to have a balance there. And but it didn't seem to matter. Some days you were catching comments that were good, and some days not so good. But overall, our staff really worked hard to bring programs back. And I think we've done it safely. And I'm very proud of the fact that our team was able to kind of stay the course with it and get the programs out there that people really were looking for. And I think we've been successful with that.
I can't even imagine the amount of work that has gone into all of those changes that have occurred over the past year. I know for me personally, I don't think I would have ever imagined seeing playgrounds and basketball courts having to be closed as they did. But I think your group did a fantastic job evolving as the pandemic changed. And as you mentioned, policies changed and really doing your best to make our amenities accessible to anybody who would like to enjoy them. Brad, let's move on to you. What are some of the things that your team worked on over the past year? I know it's been quite a bit.
Yeah, I think as Reed said, he and his staff had to pump the brakes. We actually had to put our foot on the gas, and in a very short period of time, enable our workforce to be able to work from home. So deploying all kinds of additional resources, whether it's phones or PCs, Everybody was trying to leverage what they had, and also in some cases, actually in a lot of cases, things that were more of a loaner type basis, whether they're for conference rooms or things like that. We were provisioning those and getting people to where they could work from home. And I think we did a very good job in many cases doing things that you wouldn't traditionally do from home. For example, our call center right now is remote. And so it's not as though they used to have to come into the office and be in the office, and we've been able to do some technology or implement some technology that's been able to assist with that. And then I think the biggest thing that we had to do was really ramp up our organizational training. There was a lot of new adoption of things, whether it be Teams or SharePoint or just a lot of the tools that the Microsoft product line had available, and they were there, but it didn't receive the adoption that it had in the past. And I think what happened was the lights started going on. People were a little bit intimidated with it before, but once they, kind of put their toe in the water, they said, well, this is pretty good. And so I'm very, very proud of what we've been able to accomplish and continue to accomplish at Teams. You look at the various leadership forums that we have at this point, and prior to this, we'd go to Mustang Library or to Civic Center Library or the Nave, and we'd have 60, 70 people. We're consistently up to 120, 140 people, and that's kind of where I see things in the future. I know that the majority of my staff was and still is mobile. There's those people that with their job, they have to be in. It's just like a facilities person with plumbing or electrical or whatever. Our IT technicians, they need to be able to be in the office and put hands on equipment. And we have our radio team as another team, much of our communications team that does the network. We have those roles that are definitely require the hands on, but those that don't, we've been leveraging the work from home model and found it to be highly successful. I think one of the keys there is the communication. I know all of my management staff has stand-up meetings with their staff, typically 2 to 3 times a week. I know I did with my direct reports every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10:30. We'd get together. We'd talk about what we've accomplished and also what we're going to be working on in the next few days. And I think it really, from my perspective, has probably even enhanced communications amongst work groups and staff and even our customers. Previously, it was very easy to call somebody and they weren't in their office. But now with Teams being on your city phone, personal phone, on your personal computer at home, I found that the ability to get hold of people and be able to do real-time work or interaction has enhanced significantly. And then finally, and this is early on, but as part of our CARES funding, we did allocate some money for video conferencing. And the idea there is that we're going to enable various conference rooms throughout the city. We've done the first 3. We did the pilot and then 2 more where we're going to be able to continue to do social distancing. So a conference room, maybe originally you would have 12 people in their meeting and you couldn't. You could use 2 rooms, even in 2 campuses, and have a very real, seamless experience with high resolution cameras and incredible voice quality. So that's coming down the pike and something for people to look forward to.
No, I just want to say something. I mean, I am not the most technological savvy person by any stretch of the imagination. And just seeing what is out there, and I think what Brad's team has been able to put in place, using the Teams programs, using Zoom for public meetings and staff meetings and things like that, and then the use of tablets and laptops and the working from home is something that was above my pay grade. And to just be able to see how that has come into our everyday life has really been kind of amazing to me. And I know that your group has really been instrumental in making that work. And I mean, just our park commission meetings, when we would struggle to try to get 7 people in the same place at the same time. And now with the technology of using these remote meetings, it's been wonderful. I mean, you save untold amount of time running around and hauling things from this site to that site, and it's just been great. I would never have believed it if I hadn't seen it, but it's been great. I think Brad's group has really been instrumental in helping us get there. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Reed. And I do. First of all, I do appreciate, and it's something that I did not highlight, but it is the public meetings and the public access that we've been able to enable. And the only other point that I would make is I really don't see this going away. I think it's a new way of doing business. I do think that there'll be a time when we come back to the office, but I believe we will still leverage these tools in the efficiencies that Reed just talked about, both with our citizens and internally. It gives us a whole nother opportunity to reach a number of constituents and people that we normally may not reach. Just either they didn't have time or even the desire. But if we make it as easy as we have now, I'm hoping that we can increase engagement significantly.
Absolutely. I definitely echo everything Reed just said. It certainly has changed the way we work day to day and how the city operates as a whole. So I think those changes have been good. Reed, what would you advise someone who is just beginning their career at the city of Scottsdale today?
I think they need to take advantage of everything that this city has to offer from an employee standpoint. I think, all the programs and things that are available, whether it's training, it's involvement. We touch pretty much every aspect of the city at one point or another. And I think if you can get in to branch out and reach out to others, to get different experiences for yourself, I think that is very valuable. And I think, getting to know the community. Our community is at times very vocal, but that comes from them being engaged, and I think that's good. So I think, learning how to communicate with the public, and one of the best things we can do is listen. Sometimes we may not agree with what we hear, but I think if you let somebody talk and tell you what that is that they're after, they can, you can both learn a little bit from it. But I think just taking advantage of what we have here is really something that I think is very valuable to someone new coming in. And I think I was lucky in my career. I've worked a few other places. I've worked for a Fortune 500 company. I've worked in larger communities and smaller communities and everything else. But when I came here, I noticed that the work environment's different. The people here have a great attitude about their job. They really care about their job. They care about the city. And I think they care about each other a lot. And I've seen a few other places that's not quite the case. Value what you have here because it's not always the case in other places. And I saw that right off the bat when I came here. And I've always appreciated that.
That's solid advice. I think I noticed the same, when I started with the city as well. How about you, Brad?
I think what he just said is very, very solid advice. The other thing that I would say is that we have so many talented staff and departments, and we all play a role in one way or another in providing services to our citizens. And to really be a team player, to realize that we're just one cog on the wheel that makes Scottsdale such a great city. And that's one of the things that I'm very proud of and pleased about, is that Scottsdale truly is extremely collaborative on what they do every day. The various departments and working together, it's something that you want to make sure that you're doing. And I even say to my own the new hires that I come into my department, is that team is very important. It's whether it's within IT and our various competencies that we have here, or within IT and other areas of the organization. Just leverage that, take advantage of it, and it's amazing what you can do if you do that. And then that combined with what Reed said with the, leveraging or taking advantage of all the resources you have, whether it be training, whether it be just the programs, the lunch and learns. There's just a wide variety of ways that you can get engaged, network, and grow your career.
Absolutely. Now, here's the burning question we all want to know to you both. I'll start with you, Brad. What are your retirement plans? What are you going to be doing?
That's an interesting one because I had really decided to retire a couple years ago. I put my eye on a date, and it was well before COVID, and I stuck to it. And COVID has definitely put a wrinkle in things. And so I have two things right now that are kind of impacting me doing what I ultimately want to do, which is travel the world. I have a rescue dog that I picked up in 2012 that I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but he's getting on in age, and I really don't want to leave him home alone or put him in a kennel and I just we're going to kind of just enjoy life around the house and around, not even the house. I mean, we take him all over the place. He goes to California, he goes to different places with us, but kind of see that through. And then we want to travel the world. But the challenge there is COVID. I know that we both, my wife and I have both been vaccinated, and we're fully vaccinated, but I want to experience the culture that the world has to offer, not just go see the land and the buildings. And I think right now in the current state, which I think will change, hopefully very soon, that we'll be able to get things back to a little bit more of a normal, and we'll be able to take advantage or do some of the dreams that we've had for several years.
Sounds great. I think things are, slowly but surely opening back up, and hopefully you'll be able to embark on some of those travels. How about you, Reed?
First off, I'm going to go see my dad down in Florida next week. He just turned 89. So I'm going to go down there and visit him, play a little golf, maybe hopefully do some fishing. Golf's always been something I've really enjoyed over the years. I've worked in the business for years, but also just love playing. So I plan on getting out and playing a lot of golf. I just got a new set of golf clubs. It's a retirement present to myself. Haven't even hit them yet, so I'm anxious to get out and give those things a try. I love to fish, love to be around the water, probably do some fishing and boating along the way, maybe travel back to the Midwest a little bit and see family and friends in Indiana. I've got a golf tournament to play in back there in July. I probably won't travel as extensively as Brad, but I do hope to get out and see some of the sights. The mountains in Colorado have always been something I really enjoy doing. I ride my motorcycle up there usually about once a year, so I'm hoping to get up there. Pacific Coast Highway. I got a good friend who has a cabin in Montana. Plan on visiting him. Just trying to relax a little bit for a good period of time, and then see what happens. As Brad said, my wife and I are both vaccinated now, so we can maybe get out and do some things that maybe we hadn't in the past. But hopefully that'll be good. I have a 29-year-old son who lives here in the Valley, and then our daughter, she lives in Texas. Her and her family have a little condo in Florida, and they've invited us to come down there in October. So I think we'll probably make a trip down there and just try to relax and enjoy some of the things I really enjoy doing.
That's the key, right? With retirement, relax and enjoy the things you like to do. Final question for you both, and I appreciate so much your time with us today, but any last words or things you would like to share with your colleagues before you go?
Yeah, I think it really is with our tagline that Scottsdale truly does provide simply better service for a world-class community. The services, the facilities, everything about Scottsdale is special. And I'll never forget that. And we are a world-class community. When you travel around the United States, actually a lot of places in the world, when you say Scottsdale, you don't have to say Scottsdale, Arizona. People know of Scottsdale. And so it's been an honor and a pleasure for me to work for the city for 30 years. I've learned so much from all the people and throughout my career, and I just feel extremely fortunate.
How about you, Reed?
Well, I think Brad is dead on. I think we are a world-class city, and I think if you do mention the name of Scottsdale, like you said, you don't have to put the state name behind it. Everybody seems to be familiar with our community, seems to know at least something about it. I mean, I remember the snowy winters where I would sit in Indiana and watch the Waste Management Open on TV years and years ago, and then Barrett Jackson auction, watching those things, and then now, years later, being able to be involved in those events has just been, kind of a dream come true for me. And I think, kind of as I mentioned earlier, I think people need to really value what they have here as a employer, but also to value the people that are here. We have a tremendous workforce. I know in our department, we have our managers, I think virtually all of them started out as part-time employees, and they've all been here for roughly 20 years or more and have worked themselves, in their working career to the level that they're at now. I think that's a testament to the work environment that is here, that people come here, they want to build a career here, and they stay. That's a very valuable thing for everybody. And I think there needs to be a good work-life balance. I think everybody, we're all guilty of getting involved up to our ears in work, and then sometimes it's hard to separate from that. But I think we all need to do a better job of that, just for your own mental and physical health. We are in my instance, we are in the recreation business. We need to kind of take a little bit of our own medicine, to make sure that we have a good balance. And that can be true no matter if you're in public safety or, whatever position you may be in the city. But value what you have here and try to give yourself some time to enjoy time with your personal life and your family. I think it's vitally important.
Great parting words from you both. Well, I, again, appreciate your time to be on the podcast with us today. I will let you guys both get back to the things you're doing and wrap up your days. But really, we all wish you the best. And when you talk about those great people in the city, I would definitely put you both in that category as well. And we wish you the best in your new chapters in life. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you, Holly. And Brad, safe travels, my friend.
You too, definitely. Hopefully our paths will cross, maybe out on a golf course. I'd love to do that.
All right, sounds good. Take care.
Right.
Thank you,
Take
Holly.
care.
And that's it for this episode of Podsdale. But before I go, I have a trivia question for you. What are Brad and Reed's combined years of service to the city of Scottsdale? Email your answer to communications@scottsdaleaz.gov. And join me again in 2 weeks for another episode. Take care.